Let's go.
Unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
What's going on, rock stars? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show with yours truly, Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach. We are here live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and tonight it's just you and me. It's just you and me, baby. Yes, tonight is a solo show. There is no guest tonight, so we're going to be having a great conversation talking about how to live a no excuses life. Hence the No Excuses coach. So I'm going to be talking about what that takes, but I'm also going to be answering some viewer questions I put out on social media. What questions do you have about life, relationships, goal setting, whatever it might be? Send me your questions. I'll be happy to answer them live on the air. So we're going to be doing that too. So that way you get extra added value out of this. So if you guys are watching live, as Chris Kaysen is. What's up, Chris? Thank you for joining us, brother. I appreciate it. He says, good evening. If you're joining us live, feel free to ask me any questions during this broadcast. I dare you to ask me a question that is so tough that it's going to actually make me have to stop and think. So feel free to do that. If you're watching the replay, of course, I'll be able to answer those questions as well. But let's just get right into it. What does it mean to live a no excuses life? Let me just go back here for a few moments and tell you how I became the No Excuses coach. Once upon a time, I became a coach, and I was everybody's coach. And when I got a coach, my coach actually asked me, she goes, what differentiates you from other coaches? And what differentiates you in your life? What makes you an expert in being able to give people advice and to coach them on what it is that they can do in their life? And I said, pretty much, I said, the reason why I'm here today is I never gave myself any excuses and I never stopped. Hence, if you guys notice, we just actually sold some of these the other day. I'm going to be shipping them tomorrow. Hence, my wristbands that say no excuses there. They say believe right there. I actually gave some to, I'll tell you this cool story in a second. This one says no excuses, and that one says unstoppable. So as you can see, I wear them both. And yeah, so I never gave myself excuses. And for those of you guys who don't know my story, the encapsulated version is the fact that I was a 7th grade homeless dropout. 13 years old, I lived in the backseat of a station wagon with 18 cats and 4 dogs with a mother who had various psychological disorders and challenges. And I did that for 4 years. I dug through dumpsters, did all sorts of things. I tried to kill myself twice. Unfortunately, I sucked at it. And it wasn't until I had a gun put to my head that I realized that I have 3 choices. I can either get out of here by going to jail. I can get out of here by going out of here in a coffin, or I can actually take responsibility for my life, stop giving myself excuses, and start giving myself a chance. And that's exactly what I did. And so to be able to go from that 7th grade homeless dropout, I was inspired by a mentor of mine. I actually have his quote on my arm that says, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. I was 17, 18 years old. And he said to me, he goes, Christopher, you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. He goes, have you thought about going back to school and getting your GED? And at that time I was working 2 or 3 jobs. I think I was working 3 jobs. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 guys eating ketchup sandwiches. And this guy wearing a suit and tie says, hey, did you ever think about going back to school? And I said, in my mind, I said, are you fucking crazy? I've been called stupid my entire life. I did shitty in school and I'm just barely scraping by to be able to survive. But on the outside, I said, you know what? I never considered that. And I said, what's a GED? And he said, it's a general equivalency diploma. And again, I did not do very well in school, but because I was dating his daughter and because I saw the opportunity for me to start doing different things in my life and start hanging around different people, and this guy was very successful, I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And so long story short, I went and got my GED. It took me about 3 months to make up from 8th grade to 12th grade. I got my GED. And then he came back to me and he said, hey, Chris, have you ever thought about going to college? And at that point, I thought, this guy is fucking crazy. What does he expect from me? Of course, I'm dating his daughter. He wants me to get better. And so I enrolled in a community college that was nearby. And 12 years later, I graduated with my master's degree, and the rest is history. And I've had a very successful run in corporate for over 26 years. And now I'm a coach, a speaker, podcaster, and living my best life. Because again, I did not give myself excuses and I never stopped. And that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight, is going to be talking about that. So why do we have excuses in the first place? And pardon me, but I actually took notes. I don't normally do notes. This is Raw Unscripted, but I took some notes in order to kind of keep myself on task, because I can talk about a myriad of different things here. And so the first thing that came to my mind was, why do we give ourselves excuses? And the first thing that popped up is because we lack self-confidence. Plain and simple. I've talked to thousands of people over the period of my life, and one of the common denominators is people lack that self-confidence. And so what they do is they go to their short-term gratifications. They go to what is certain, because that is safe and that is predictable. And that's kind of what we're conditioned to believe in. Stay in your lane, don't ask for too much. But my invitation to you tonight is to take some notes and to take 3 strategies from tonight's conversation, because you're going to get more than that, and apply them in your life. And so what it really is about is changing the way we talk to ourselves. It's changing our beliefs about our experiences in our past, because oftentimes we go to the past experiences and say, well, I tried that and it didn't work, or I'm not very good at that. And we give ourselves those types of excuses, and we stay in our own lane, and we stay miserable, comfortably miserable half the time. And it's also about the people you surround yourself with, because when I surrounded myself with people who were fuck ups and losers, to put it mildly, I was in that same company. But when I started surrounding myself with different people, and I started shifting my perspective about my past, and I started talking differently to myself, those were the first starting points for me to begin to have confidence. Because all of my life, I did not have confidence. I was bullied by kids at school. I was bullied by kids on the way home from school. I was beaten in my own house. And so for me to stand here today, or sit here today and talk to you guys, thousands and thousands of people in 28 different countries, to be a professional speaker, speaking in front of thousands of people in an auditorium or an arena, whatever it might be, that is, to me, still a little unbelievable, given the fact that I was afraid to open my mouth around anybody because I did not have any self-confidence. But again, when you think about it, we want everything to be perfect in our life. We will take that chance when everything's perfect. And that's one of our excuses, is perfection. Oh, when this is right and that's right, and when this happens and that happens, then I'll go ahead and take those chances and those risks in my life. But I'm here to invite you guys. The reason why I'm here is I've taken imperfect action all of my life. I've just taken that next step. What do I need to do? I need to make a phone call. What's the next thing I need to do? I need to take a test. What's the next thing I need to do? I need to study. What's the next thing I need to do? I need to take better care of myself, and all these different things, in order to have this no excuses life. And now let me share with you the top excuses that I receive on a daily basis. I coach anywhere from 6 to 10 people at a time. I have a group accountability coaching program that I hear excuses. Number one, the excuses I hear is I don't have enough time. And the second excuse I hear is I don't have enough money. The third excuse I hear is I don't have the knowledge. I don't know how to do it. And oddly enough, the fourth excuse that I hear is I don't know where to start. So you think about it. Type in the box what your main excuse is, and I'll be able to speak that out as well tonight. I've got my notes here. So Chris, what is your big excuse? What do you think it might be? And when I sit there and I ask people, when they sit there and say, Chris, I just don't have enough time. I'm like, well, there's 24 hours in a day. And however, I was able to take accelerated college courses, work a full-time job, and still have friends in my life. I had to manage my time differently. And I had to realize, what are the priorities of my life? The number one priority, and I'm going to invite you guys to consider this, is to take care of yourself. And so oftentimes people say, I don't have time. I don't have time to cook well. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. When you think about it, what is it that you're spending your time on? I was just coaching somebody, a new client recently, and that was one of her big excuses, was she doesn't have enough time. And I said, tell me about your day from the time you get up till the time you go to sleep. And she started explaining her day, and she had a couple of kids, and she said, well, I have to make their lunches, and I have to do their laundry, and I have to pick up the house, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this. And I said, do you realize how many times you just said, I have to do this? And she goes, no, I didn't. I said, oftentimes we give ourselves that excuse that we have to do those things because it will allow us the opportunity not to take those risks. Because another one of our excuses is sometimes subconsciously is that we have a fear. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. But when I don't have enough time, and I sat there and I said, okay, so if you got hit by the proverbial bus tomorrow, right? We always talk about getting hit by a bus and won't be here tomorrow. I said, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, are you telling me that your kids won't have lunch, that your husband and your kids won't have clean clothes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I said, so what would happen if you died tomorrow? I said, what would happen to your family? What do you think they would do realistically? And God forbid that happens. And she paused for a second. We were on a Zoom call and she sat there and she goes, well, I guess they would have to do it themselves. And I said, okay. I said, what's the opportunity in that? She goes, oh, Chris, you don't understand. My kids are spoiled. My husband won't do that. Da, 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 da. And I said, well, you just got through telling me the fact that if you died tomorrow, they would have to do it, right? When you think about things, it's in terms of leverage. It's in terms of what the priority is. So have you ever had that experience or that conversation with your family to say, you know what, mom needs some time for herself. Mom needs to have some interest in her life that make her happy. I said, have you ever had that conversation with your family? She goes, no. She goes, I've kind of jokingly mentioned it, but they're all like, yeah, mom, right. That's your job. Your job is to do that. And then I said, what did you do in those points in that moment? And she said, I just kept doing it. And I said, okay. I said, I am going to challenge you to sit down and have a conversation with your family. I said, how old are your kids? And I think she had 3 kids. They were 9, 11, and like 14 or 15, I think it is. And I said, I want you to sit down with your family. I said, this is a challenge. Sit down with your husband as well and think about this, but ask them for their help. I said, is your family a loving family? I said, do you think they're kind? Do you think they care about you? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, then you have to put it in your brain that they're going to support you in this. You have to kind of have this vision in your brain that says this is going to go well. I said, because what would it afford you if you had 2 hours a day? 2 hours a day, what would it afford you to be able to go after this passion that you have of yours? And this is what she came to me for. She wants to start a business. And I said, what would it afford you if you had 2 hours every single day? 7 days a week, that's 14 hours a week. I said, times 6 months. I said, how many hours is that? How much different would your life be if you sat there and had that conversation with those guys and you had them get their support to help you with the laundry, to help you with the cleaning, to help you with the lunches? She goes, oh my God, Chris, it would be amazing. And I said, okay. I said, this is your challenge. I want you to have that conversation. That was a couple of weeks ago. The next week she showed up actually it was before that. She sent me a text message and she told me, she goes, oh my God, Chris, I just met with my family and you wouldn't believe this. She goes, they were happy to help out. They said, Mom, you should have asked us earlier. And so when you think about your time and you don't have enough time, that's bullshit. You have to get creative about what it is that you're doing. Oh, I have to have my coffee in the morning. I have to do this. I have to do this. I said, oh, no. What happened if you just got up and you started getting going? What happens if you got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you worked out and you spent 20 minutes reading a personal development book and you spent 20 minutes journaling every single day? How different do you think your life would be? And I've asked that hundreds and hundreds of times. And people say, oh, I'm not a morning person. I'm not this. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I'm like, because you keep telling yourself that. So when you think about it again, like I said before, the negative self-talk, how are you speaking to yourself when you're by yourself? Would you want your son, your daughter, your best friend, your wife, your husband, whoever it might be in your life that you care about, would you allow them to talk to themselves the way you talk to yourself? Yes or no? No, of course you wouldn't. I wouldn't want my kid to speak negatively about himself and tell him that he couldn't do something. That's ridiculous. When you think about it, what is the opportunity in our life to expand? You're not here to be mediocre. I ask people all the time, is it okay to be mediocre? Or when did it become acceptable to be mediocre? When did it become acceptable to be complacent? When did it become acceptable to be lazy? Well, Chris, it's never been acceptable. I'm like, okay, why do your actions keep supporting the fact that it's acceptable? Well, I think that someday, I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, okay, great. I love it. Show me someday on a calendar. Where is someday on a calendar? Because oftentimes we sit there and we say someday. And here's another thing that we say, I'll try. Again, that negative self-talk that we say to ourselves. I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. 3 words to eliminate from your vocabulary in order to have a no excuses, unstoppable life. Are you ready? I want you to write them down. Put them on a sticky note. You guys who follow the show, you guys know I'm a fan of sticky notes. You put them on a sticky note, you put it on your monitor, and then you pay attention to it. Okay. Always, never, and try. Those are the 3 words you eliminate from your vocabulary when you speak to yourself or when you speak out loud, because half the time, and I'm gonna guess it's more than half the time with you, I always screw it up. I'll never get the right person. I'll try to get up and work out. When you think about that, I always screw up. I always make mistakes. I'll never be able to do it. I've always been afraid. I've always sucked at it. I never can do this. I never can do this. I'll try to do that. How about we eliminate those words, especially try? Right? Really, you're either going to do it or you're not. And that's one of the things that I love getting across to people is the fact that either you're going to do it or you're not. Oh, I'm going to try to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. What would it take for you to get up at 5 o'clock every single morning? Well, I'd have to be a morning person. No, you would have to actually move your body, get up, put your feet on the floor and stand up. Can you do that? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. How bad do you want it? When you think about the excuses in your life, ask yourself, how bad do I want it? On a scale of 1 to 10, and you can't pick 7 because most oftentimes people will pick 7 because it's on the verge of being positive, but it's also on the edge of being, not doing it. So how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to live a long, healthy life? On a scale of 1 to 10, you better say it's 10. So if you're saying that you want to live a nice, long, healthy life and you say a 10, what are my actions that need to support that? I need to eat good. I'm going to give you another tip right now. The 5: hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. Hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. You can do those. Go, yes, Chris, I can do those. Because oftentimes we don't even drink enough water. You know how many times I've talked to people who I said, how do you feel? Well, I feel sluggish. I feel like shit. I can't concentrate. I'm unmotivated. I feel lethargic. I'm like, how much water do you drink? Oh, I really don't drink any water. Your body is comprised of water. It's 70 to 80% water. You need to hydrate yourself. People ask me all the time, how are you 55 and you don't look it? Because all my life, for a majority, most of my life, I have drank a lot of water. Because your organs and your body needs that water. It also needs oxygen. So I have been a workout guy since I was 18 years old. I'm 55 now. So I have worked out. You take oxygen into your body. You need to get oxygen into the red blood cells. If you're sitting there and you're a shallow breather and you're not exercising, you're not getting the oxygen in your body and you're not hydrating with water, that alone, give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Work out 6 days a week. Increase your oxygen level into your bloodstream, even if you just take deep breaths. Deep breaths. Get oxygen into your system. For some reason, my monitor is a little loud right now. Just do that. Sleep. Oh, yeah, Chris, I sleep like shit. I only sleep 2 or 3 hours a night. How's that working out for you? I have an Oura ring on my finger that tracks my sleep. Tracks my deep sleep, my REM sleep, and my light sleep. There's 90-minute cycles. I've biohacked sleep. You got to make sure you're getting that deep sleep, that restorative sleep. If you're eating or you're drinking alcohol, or if you're looking at your devices, guess what? Your sleep's going to be messed up. When you start getting really, really good sleep and you start tracking it and you start seeing what it is that affects your sleep, then you start waking up in the morning with a mission, a vision, purpose, passion, leverage in your life. You develop that sense of discipline. Guess what? You don't have any excuses in your life. You live a no excuses, unstoppable life. And am I asking for perfection? No. Am I perfect? No. But it's all a matter of having that leverage in your life, because when you have the excuse that you don't have enough time and you make that up, guess what? You will find things to fill up your day and to fill up your time. Oftentimes we spend time on our phone and we get distracted. Stop it. Put a limit on there. It's about having that priority in your life, because the bigger vision is when you have a big enough why, you have a big enough how. So what is your why? What is your how? I want to catch some of these comments. What's going on? Got Chris in the house. He says, that is something I'm working on, figuring out my timetable and constantly adapting. Yes, brother. Yes, brother. But what would it be like if you just sat there and gave yourself an end date? In the next 2 weeks, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to completely change how it is and what I do in order to get different results. And I realize sometimes it takes planning and it takes other things in our life. But it's really a matter of prioritizing. But I love that. Constantly adapting, like what's working, what's not working. But first and foremost, you got to take care of yourself. We got Nisangel in the house. I hope I'm saying that right. Nisangel. I hope I'm saying that right. Says, hi, Christopher Rausch. Chris also says here, going over my timetable currently while taking notes. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. That's what this is about. It's about taking action. It's about taking that imperfect action. Chris also says, believe there are apps that put screen time limits too. Yes, there's amazing forms of technology out there that will, some reason I'm getting weird feedback, that will help you, right? It's about being resourceful. Now, having no excuses life really is about being resourceful. There are opportunities out there for you to change what it is that you're doing and what you're working on. And when you think about it also, I said before, old beliefs and experiences. Well, I've always screwed up and I'm not. Well, how about you do something different? I know I would not be here today without having coaches and mentors in my life. People who have asked me those tough questions. Chris, why do you keep doing that? Chris, have you thought about doing it this way? I just had one of my mentors do that to me recently. I'm talking about this show. The show is actually going to be a little bit different in 2025. You have to change your beliefs and you have to change your paradigms, that whatever was happening in those particular experiences was happening for you and not to you. And everything that's happened up until this moment is preparing you for what's next. Let me say that again. Everything that's happened in your life that right up until this point is preparing you for what's next. You listening to this conversation, you listening and watching the words that I'm sitting here sharing with you tonight. How about living a no excuses life? That means you can start tonight. You can start tonight by starting to tell yourself, you know what, tomorrow's going to be a different day. You know what, tomorrow I'm going to speak a little less negatively to myself. You know what, tomorrow I'm going to say some empowering opportunities for myself. Words of affirmation. Again, you can Google this stuff. Google words of affirmation. Sentences you could say to yourself. But again, for me, it's having that big why, because when you have a big enough why, you have a big enough how. And when you have that leverage in your life, guess what it creates? It creates discipline. I'll share a story with you. You can Google this, 75 Hard. It's a program where you do it for 75 days. You do 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes each. One of them has to be outside no matter what the weather is. You healthy diet. So for me, it was no sugar, no booze, no wheat, no gluten. 10 pages read, not listened to, read in a personal development book, a daily progress picture, and they say a gallon of water, but I say half your body weight in ounces of water every single day. You do that for 75 days. Now, on the surface, sometimes people sit there and tell me, I just had a guy tell me not too long ago, he says, oh my God, that sounds easy, dude. And then he got into about day 27 after the fun and the newness wore off. And he's like, fuck, dude. He goes, I had to go to my kid's baseball party the other day and didn't drink and didn't have any of the bad food that was out there. And I said, how was that? He goes, yeah, it was a little bit challenging. I said, but what did that teach you? He says, it taught me that I have choices and that I constantly can reevaluate my choices based on the bigger picture. Because let me tell you, I've done that program 3 times, and I've done it 3 times in my life when I did not want to do it. The last time I did it was in the middle of summer, where I usually gain about 5 to 10 pounds. I like to drink beer. I like to have pizza. I like to cook out. But I sat there and because my voice was telling me not to do it, I decided to override my voice. And I said, Chris, you're going to do it and you're going to start tomorrow. When you get comfortable getting uncomfortable, ladies and gentlemen, guess what you start to do? You develop that discipline habit. And you start keeping promises to yourself. If you want to live a no excuses life, here is the crux of it. Keep your promises to yourself. I'm going to get in better shape. I'm going to start eating healthier. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to do less of that. And then you write it down and you keep your promise to yourself. And guess what? You take that imperfect action every single day. Now we have no excuse. We have no excuse. We have these phones. We have computers in our hands, and we all have computers for the most part. There's YouTube, there's Google, and there's ChatGPT. There is no excuse, literally, for one of the other excuses that we talk about is no knowledge. Chris, I don't know how to cook healthy. Chris, I don't know how to do my finances. Chris, I don't know how to work out. Chris, I have a bad back and I need to work out, but I need to not stress out my back. Type it into Google, ladies and gentlemen. I was just talking with somebody the other day that said their finances are all jacked up and that's why they can't work with me. And I said, have you ever actually done some research on how to fix your finances? I said, do you know actually what tips and tricks are out there that are available to you today to reduce your financial debt, to increase your income? I said, have you thought about doing a side hustle? Is there something that you could do that you don't even think about that you could do to make extra money? That's how I became a coach. I was able to listen to people and give them advice, and I started charging for them, and I started making money. What is it that you can do? My wife actually has just got into making sourdough bread. She's making all types of different sourdough bread. She started giving them to her friends, and now she's getting order from her friends' friends. So now she's got a little bit of a side hustle. She loves to bake the bread. She's learning something new. She's excited about the different flavors she can make, and now she's making money at it. So what is it that you can do? Whether it's crocheting, knitting, fucking making decorative light bulbs, whatever it might be. Is there something that you can do that can make extra resource and make extra income? Oh, Chris, I don't have time. Well, keep living and doing what it is that you're doing in your life. And guess what you're going to wind up with? You're going to wind up with regrets. You're going to wind up with regrets. And if you see my social media posts, you know, a lot of times I post hashtag no regrets because I read the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. There's an assignment for you. Read The 5 Regrets of the Dying, and you will learn from a hospice nurse what the top 5 regrets were. The number 1 regret is that people lived the life they thought they were supposed to live and didn't live the life they wanted to live. You talk about living an excuse-oriented life. For me, I was a suit and tie speaker, but I was out there being successful, but I was empty inside. And it wasn't until I embraced who I am. I'm a rocker. I'm a biker. I'm a smartass. I swear. but I have a passion for humanity. I have a passion for helping people get unstuck and live their best possible life. And I do it with my own way, the raw and unscripted way. It's not for everybody. Sure. Do I offend people? Yeah, they're not my people. You guys are listening to this. We're in 28 different countries on this podcast. That's where a predominantly majority of people listen to this and watch this. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got Daniel Echeverria in the house. What's up? Daily Dose of Dano. Check him out. He's an amazing dude. Another one of the excuses is I don't know where to start. Start somewhere. I've had so many people tell me they want to write a book and I don't know where to start. I'm like, just start fucking writing. It will come to you. Make a layout. For me, when I wrote my book, which is be out next year, I just put it out by addresses. I said, I'm gonna type out my memories based on the different addresses I lived at, and then we'll see if we shift it around. Then right now we're going through the editing process. I'm actually going to go through a traditional publisher now. And so I was able to do that. Start somewhere. Start with the hydration. Start with a better sleep. It's amazing when you start to feel better and you start to do more, your confidence increases and increases and increases and increases and increases. And guess what increases also when you do that? You start taking time to evaluate who it is that you're hanging around the most. I think it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where it talks about you're like the 5 people you're around the most. So write down on a piece of paper the 5 people you're around the most, and are they positive or negative? Are they constructive or deconstructive or destructive? Right? When you think about it, when I hung around the 5 people that were not doing much in their life, guess what I was doing? Not much of my life. But when I started hanging around people who were smarter and brighter than me, when I got into masterminds and I started hanging around other people, guess what? It forced me to be inspired to go to the next level. And you can go to that next level. Does it hurt? Does it suck to let people go? Absolutely. I've had to let best friends go in my life. I had to let a lot of people go in my life because I continue to ascend. I continue to be better. Right? My biggest thing right now is I don't hang out with asshats. I don't hang around people who call other people names. I just call people names. So there you go. Yeah, Daniel says here, he goes, don't discredit your programs or your story. 100%. We got Robert Broker in the house. He says, there is now meditation and breath work in addition to learning through imperfect action. 100%, Robert. Yes. When you think about that, Chris said here also, he goes, I created a spreadsheet to track financing on a weekly basis in order to smack me in the face on my spending habits. Perfect. I love it. That's self-accountability, ladies and gentlemen. When you start holding yourself accountable and you start becoming aware of what it is that you're doing. When I ask people, I say, show me how much screen time you spend on your phone. When people look it up, I teach them how to look it up and they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much time I was spending on my phone. I said, how about this? Make it a goal every single week to make that number go down. Unless you're spending time on the phone to learn something. I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I probably spend 2 to 6 hours a week on YouTube watching interview shows, watching things to learn. Right now I'm learning about AI. So I'm learning about what the technology is coming and how it's going to be changing. I'm learning about how to Robert said about meditation and breath work. I'm learning new ways to do that to find peace in my heart. It's doable, ladies and gentlemen. You got to give yourself a chance and stop giving yourself excuses. So if you don't know where to start, just to get started on something, where can I start today? Where can I take that imperfect action tomorrow? But again, when you think about it, when I talk about those 5, when you think about your nutrition, again, Chris, I can't afford good food. That's bullshit. You can do it. That's an excuse, because can you afford to not have good nutrition now and afford the co-pays and the medications and to feel like shit and to have sickness in your life later on? I can't tell you how many people I know in my life, and there is a lot, more than how many are on my hand, I've known for 20 or 30 years. They used to give me that excuse that they couldn't work out there. They were in all these different excuses. And now those people are on a ton of medication. I know friends that went from being pre-diabetic to diabetic. And I told them, I said, here's what you could do to shift. You want a great piece of advice? Eliminate sugar, wheat, and gluten from your life. Oh my God, Chris, that sounds horrible. Yeah, when you start doing that and you start losing the inflammation in your body, guess what? Your pain levels go down. Your inflammation goes down. You start to feel better. Again, when you hydrate, you're feeling better. You're putting that into your system. You're oxygenating your blood when you're working out and you're raising your heart level, your resting pulse rate, right? All those different things make that difference, because when you start feeling better, you start doing better. When you start doing better, you start feeling better, and it starts to build on itself. It brings about this energetic shift in your life. People ask me how I'm so energetic, because I have passion, because I take care of myself, because I surround myself with the right people. Is it constant? No. Do I have my bad moments? Yes. But that's when I go to my strategies of what it is that I need to do to change and shift what it is that I'm focusing on. Because I'm not perfect. I'm going to sit here telling you that I'm always perfect. I have my own excuses as well sometimes. And that's where it comes into the strategies. Am I focusing? Am I being on point? And I'll give you this other idea. Have a big enough why, like I said before. So think about your life in terms, if I died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? About your current actions, about your current mindset. If you died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? Would you be proud of the person that you are today if that happens tomorrow? And I know for me, back in 2008, when I realized that 10 or 15 people would show up and they'd probably tell a lot of stories about the stupid shit that I've done in my life, that wasn't what I wanted to be remembered for. And so from that point forward, after I wrote my eulogy, the thing that people say about you when you die, I had that big enough why. So every single day, I'm going to fight for what's right and what's fair. I'm going to risk for which that mattered. And I'm going to leave the earth a better place for who I am and what I do. That's how I stay on point. Let's continue on. It's already been 30 minutes and I'm not even halfway through this. So here's another thing. You know, when people, the no excuses really comes into a perceived lack of resources. And so I'll give you an example. I've given this example many, many times, and it still to this day blows my mind how much it shifts people. So for me to work with me on a one-on-one basis for 6 months is $10,000. And when I get people that I tell them that, they're like, Chris, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And I say it's $10,000 for 6 months. And I go, oh my God, if I had $10,000, and I'm like, okay, all things being equal, I said, who do you love most in your life? Oftentimes it's one of their kids. And I'm like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you do for your kid? 10. I said, would you take a bullet for your kid? Absolutely. I said, okay, I'm going to go dark here for a second because I believe there is a lot of leverage in being dark. That's why I ask you about if you died tomorrow. So I said, okay, you're going to walk into your house tomorrow. And I said, oh, okay, who's your kid? We'll just say, okay, it's my 9-year-old son. So you walk in tomorrow into your house after a long day of work, and there's somebody standing there holding a gun to your 9-year-old son's head. And they say to you, you have to raise $10,000 in the next 7 days, and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical. I said, what do you do? I said, do you just go sit there? Oh my God, if I had $10,000, that would be so great. I said, what would you do? And every single time when I talk to people about that, the immediate response is, I would do this, and I would do this, and I would do this, and I would do this. And I'm like, what else would you do? I've got extra phones. I would do this. I would do this. I would do this. And I'm like, yeah, because there's leverage, right? Right now you have excuses. Oh my God, $10,000 is too much. And What is it that you could sell? What side hustle could you do? Who would you ask for money? How would you take a loan out? What are the opportunities in your life, right? When there's leverage, when push comes to shove, we figure it out. There's a great book out there by Marie Forleo, and it's called Everything is Figure Outable. Phenomenal book about resources. Go get that book. So I've given you 2 or 3 books right now. It's pretty amazing what you could do. You start reading, you start applying, and again, that shift and that cyclone of effect starts to happen. The positive emotions start to happen. And then what happens in your brain is you go, it's possible. I can do it. And I've seen so many people lose weight, quit drinking, raise money, start businesses, a myriad of things. I've witnessed it personally. I had a 69-year-old lady come to me during COVID, and I coached her for a year. Her life dramatically changed 180 degrees. She wound up finding the love of her life at 70 years old and got married. She wound up starting her own business. She wound up doing all these different things. But before, she could not grasp the idea that she was capable of doing that at 69 years old. I could tell you success story after success story. So it is really about that. It's about another way it is also is how you start your day. Like I start my day with gratitude. I say out loud what I'm grateful for. And then I set my intentions for the day. My intention for today is to be present and playful with my son. My intention today is to use my words and my actions to make this world a better place. My intention today, And I don't look at the news, right? And I get up and I start my day usually with some form of exercise. Whether I take my dog for a walk, whether I go to the gym, I start it. And guess what? Oftentimes I don't feel like it. That's another excuse. Chris, I just don't feel like it. Well, guess what? Do you feel like having the results? Do you feel like staying in the same spot, looking at 2024 and going, wow, I said I was going to do all these things and I didn't do it? Like take a recap of your year. Tomorrow, wake up and take a pen and paper out there and recap your year. Did you keep your promises to yourself? What goals did you set for yourself? What were the measurements on those goals? And I know a lot of people who started off the year saying, man, after COVID and after all this other bullshit, 2024 is going to be my year. And I already see those people posting on social media, and I know they did not keep their promises to themselves. And again, do you want those regrets in your life? So here's another thing, going back to health for a second, because I just saw one of my notes. Vitamins, right? I talked about the 5. One of them was vitamin D. Vitamin D. So I get a lot of sunshine. I go out there and I walk my dog. I used to, when I worked in corporate, I would go out and take a 10 to 15 minute walk out in the sunshine because I know vitamin D is super important for us. Guess what? I hired a health coach. I spent a lot of money and hired a health coach, and she did a vitamin deficiency test on me. And I believe everybody should do that. You should do that. Find a way, Google vitamin deficiency test. I think you can order your own tests now. You can find tests online. You can go to a doctor, but I did the vitamin deficiency test. Guess what I was deficient in? Vitamin D. Guess what I take every single day? A vitamin D supplement, in addition to the exercise and the sunshine that I get. You know how much of a difference that made? I went from being blah, and I've always been pretty motivated and pretty driven, but it went from being, I have to try to do this and I have to push myself to do it, to, wow, I energetically feel better. I don't feel there's much of a fog over me. So I did a vitamin deficiency test. You know what else you should do? An allergy test. I've convinced my coaching clients to do an allergy test, and I've found out more times than not, they're allergic to gluten. They're allergic to this. They're allergic to that. They're allergic to cats and they have cats. All the different things in their life. So when you think about that, how much different would your results be if you felt better? And that's one of the biggest excuses that I get. I don't feel like it, Chris. I just don't have enough energy, Chris. I just don't have the clarity, Chris. I'm doing the best I can, Chris. That's another bullshit excuse. You're not doing the best you can. You're not. Stop telling yourself you're doing the best. Blood, sweat, and tears, ladies and gentlemen. You should go to bed exhausted every single night and feeling proud. You want to live a no excuses, unstoppable life? Do something every single day to be proud. And then go to bed at night. I have a little book by my bed, and I write down what I'm grateful for that day and what I'm proud of. It takes me 30 seconds to a minute, and I write that down. And when I'm having rough days, I just go back and I flip through the pages, and I'm like, holy shit, how many things I've done this year? How many little things that I've done? I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to answer some questions that I got through social media. The other night I was at the grocery store, and I was surprised because the lady says, I was talking about talking fast. And I said, yeah, I do a podcast. And I said, when I ask people for feedback, they tell me that, Chris, you talk too fast. Can you slow down? And so they said, oh, you do a podcast? And I said, yeah. And the cashier looks at me and she goes, are you on YouTube? She goes, I feel like you're very familiar. And tell me if anybody else looks like me. Does anybody wear a bandana and a hat on backwards and looks like a rock and roller dude? No. And so I was actually really, really surprised. It's right. I mean, it's 5 minutes from my house. I'm in here in Riverside and I do speaking stuff and everything. And as a matter of fact, it's on YouTube. She goes, I knew you from somewhere. And then the box boy guy looks at my wristbands, the one I just showed you. And he goes, oh, I'd love to get one of those wristbands. He goes, or do you sell those? Or he goes, where did you get the wristbands? I said, those are mine. He goes, do you sell them? I said, absolutely. I said, if you go on my website, noexcusescoach.com, I said, if you go to the shop page, I said, you could purchase them. I said, I think they're $9, $12, something like that for the pair. He goes, oh man, I'm going to do that. And I walked out of the store and I felt like, you know what? I could get a sale. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, I'm going to sell some wristbands. And then, you know what? I went to my truck and I keep a bag of wristbands in my truck. And I walked out there and I got 2 sets, and I walked back into the store, walked right up to the cashier and the box boy, swear to God, and handed them to him. I said, you know what? Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. I appreciate it. These are for you. Their faces lit up. They're like, oh my God. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What's your website again? And I said, noexcusescoach.com. I said, if you Google hashtag No Excuses Coach, I said, you'll find me all over the place. You'll find me on interviews. You'll find my YouTube channel where I do my podcast, where I do short videos. You'll find me on TikTok. You find me everywhere. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Guess what? The next day I got an order for wristbands. They ordered them from Starbucks for one of their friends. So again, we can make that difference in our lives. But it takes us living that bigger purpose and that bigger why. It really does. I didn't realize I was going to be chatty so long. So here are some of the questions that I received from social media. I put this on my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page, my TikTok page, and my Instagram page. So one of the questions I think I may have already answered, but it's, how do I discover my true passion in my purpose in life? What are you really great at? What is something you could do for hours and hours and not realize how much time that goes by? whatever it might be. For me, it's music. I actually can talk about music. I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm a walking jukebox. I could do that for hours and hours. But the thing I can do is I could talk because I'm passionate. I can sit there and talk to you. I can talk to people on stage. I talk all day. I help people pretty much every single moment of the day as much as I possibly can. So how to find your true passion and purpose in life? Think about that. Here's another thing you do is you can ask your closest friends, like, what do you think my true gift is? Your true gift is this. Your true gift is that. Like if you're a great cook, okay, what can I do? I could start, nowadays you could sell food out of your house, right? You can think about, oh man, I got friends of mine that have started food trucks. Sure, there's an investment. Yeah, you get a small business loan. You go in it with a partner. You can start doing a food truck. You could actually ask a food truck, hey, maybe I can sell some of my dishes, whatever it might be. But how do you find your true passion and purpose in life? Is again, you think about, who do you want to be remembered? What do you want to be remembered for? For me, it's making a difference. It's for fighting what's right and what's fair. It's risking what should matter. And it's making the world a better place for who it is and what I do. I've helped people find their passion. But again, it's usually working with somebody. You need to work with somebody outside of yourself in order to dig that out of you. But what is it that you could do? What is your dream to do? Oh, my dream is to become a baseball player. Well, I'm too old. Okay, what else can you do within baseball? Can you sell baseball cards? Can you collect to sell baseball cards? Can you start sharing TikTok or information on TikTok? Can you start a podcast about baseball? Can you start interviewing people about baseball? Whatever it might be, you got to get creative. But how do you discover your true passion and purpose in life? Also, maybe what it is that you're not good at. And I know a lot of people that are in comfortable jobs making a decent amount of money and they're afraid to take that next chance. So what is your true passion and purpose in life? That's what you have to sit there and write down. What do you want to be remembered for? And ask other people in your life. Another question is, what if I don't feel fulfilled even though I'm successful in my career? That's what I call being comfortably miserable. And that's what I was. I made 6 figures. I was at my company for 26 years. I had 6 weeks of vacation, and I was doing my coaching and my speaking and podcasting on the side. And I asked myself, when am I going to stop this? When am I going to take that next leap? Because for me, it was about scarcity. And so I worked with my coach. I said, can you help me overcome my scarcity? I'm like afraid if I leave this job, the income's not going to come from me anymore. And so we worked on that. We worked on my belief systems, right? When you think about that, like the fulfillment, are you happy with the people that you're around? And I will tell you this, guys, all of this takes one word. It takes honesty. Am I happy with the people that are in my life? Am I happy with the way I'm taking care of myself? Am I happy with the way I speak to myself? Am I happy with the results am I getting? And then be brutally honest with yourself. Fuck no, I'm not happy. I've been miserable for a long time. Do you know how many people I've helped end relationships and end careers that were really profitable and really good for them? Yeah, it sucks. Chris, it's going to be hard. Of course it is. But did you come here to play it safe, or did you come here and really truly live and experience the juices of life? And I'll ask you this question. When have you learned and grown the most? When things were easy or when things were challenging? Of course, Chris, when things were challenging. Yeah, myself, things when challenging. When things have been easy, for a while, my life was super easy and was on point. But guess what? I was not fulfilled because I wasn't challenging myself. We are here to learn and grow every single day and to be challenged. And when you do that, when you get out of your comfort zone and you realize that you have the strength and the power to survive those moments, and when you put in that hard work and that dedication to lose the weight, to go through a divorce, to end a career and start a new business, when you do those things and you look on the other side of that, 6 months to a year to 3 years, and how different you are, I've seen so many people do that. And on the other side of that, come back to me, Chris, man, I wish I would have done it sooner. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had people come back to me later in life and tell me, Chris, I wish I would have done that sooner. I wish I would have done that divorce sooner. I wish I would have ended that career sooner. I wish I would have started taking better care of myself sooner. Again, regrets suck. So what is it going to be for you? Are you going to be inspired from this podcast to go, oh my God, yeah, that was so great, and then keep doing what it is that you're doing? Or are you going to get a coach in your life? Are you going to make sure that you have some mentors in your life? Ask people that you respect and admire, hey, will you mentor me? More likely than not, people will mentor you and they won't charge you a dime. But I believe that when you pay attention, because I used to give my coaching away for free. And guess what? People got value out of it, but they didn't get as much value out of it when they started investing money And then when I started taking value in what it is that I was providing, I started charging more. And that made me more fulfilled. It made me more appreciative of the fact of what it is that I was doing for people. So that's important. Next question. How can I align my daily life with my long-term goals? How can I align my daily life? And I didn't really consider these questions beforehand, so I don't have any answers for them. I'm thinking about them as I'm sitting here going through this. How can I align my daily life with my long-term goals? It's about consistency. Consistency. Again, how long did it take you to get to be the person that you are today? Did it take you 25 years, 35 years, 45 years, 60 years, however it is old you are? That's how much time it's taken you to become the person that you are today. So again, going back to what I was saying before, it takes time. It takes discipline. It takes consistency. It takes not seeing results for a little while to know and to believe in your heart that ultimately you're going to get to the other side of this challenge and you're going to be like, holy fuck, I wish I would have done this sooner. Holy shit, I didn't realize how strong I was or I am. So you got to get in alignment with those goals. And that starts off with taking better care of yourself. The hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and vitamin D. Get the vitamin deficiency test. Get the allergy test. Again, start eating better for your body. Eliminate sugar, wheat, and gluten. There's a great book out there. Here's the fourth book I think I've told you guys tonight. The Wheat Belly. When I started reading about the genetic modification of wheat and corn and Monsanto and all the different chemicals that are going into our food, and I started eating organic, does it cost more? Fucking A, it does. But guess what? I feel way better. And again, going back to the core root of it, things, when you wake up feeling better and you wake up focusing your mind on the positive opportunities in your life and the challenges, and to say, you know what, I'm going to push myself a little bit more today. I pushed myself more in the gym today than I have in probably the last couple of months, because on Sunday, I made a commitment myself to at 55 to even get in better shape than I am right now, because I could do it. I started giving myself the excuse. My excuse was like, I'm in pretty decent enough shape. But my goal, my long-term leverage is to see my 8-year-old kid, he's going to be 8 at the end of this month, to see him married and have kids. So when you stay in alignment with what your big why is, what is your why? Do you want to walk your daughter down the aisle? Do you want to see your kids graduate from college? Do you want to be able to retire and realize your dreams in life? Or do you want to continue to grind and suffer for the rest of your life? That is your choice. And again, it's not going to be easy, but guess what? It's going to be worth it. Got Guy Berlando in the house. What's up, brother? From Colorado. He says, from Cancun. Tuning in from Cancun. I love you, man. I appreciate you. There's a great guy to follow. He's got a wealth of knowledge and a lot of experience in his heart. I'm not going to be able to get to all these questions because I went deep on the no excuses life. How do I overcome self-doubt and fear of failure? I'm not mentioning people's names because I didn't get permission to mention their names. How do I overcome self-doubt and fear of failure? Where does that come from? Where does the fear of failure come from? And what is failure? What is failure? Failure is not the falling down, it's the staying down. I think that's a quote by Maureen Dowd. I can't take responsibility for that or credit for that, but it's not the falling down, it's the staying down. Failure is returned opportunity. Like, I don't make mistakes, I have opportunities. I don't have problems, I have opportunities. Again, when you refocus what it is that you're focusing on, it changes. I used to have my staff that would come into my office and say, Chris, we have a problem. I said, no, what do we have? We have an opportunity. Or you can sit there and say, we have a challenge. Okay, what's the challenge? The challenge is I have self-doubt. Okay, where does that self-doubt come from? My past experiences. Okay, if everything in your life was happening for you and not to you, and everything that in your past was preparing you for what's going to happen next, then you're in the perfect place right now to change. Self-doubt, okay, what if I don't make it? What if I fail? What if I screw up? So be it. That's another way you learn not to do it. Think about that. When you shift your perspective just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit, all these things I'm telling you and I'm teaching you over time, it will take time, but then your self-doubt will start to go away. Do I have self-doubt? Absolutely. But I sit there and I say, you know what? I'm going to have the opportunity to either have self-doubt or self-optimism. Like for me, sometimes in my life, I've sat there and thought, okay, the podcast has been going for 5 years. It should be more popular. I should have more downloads. I should have more listeners. But what if on July 12th of 2025, I do a show and it goes viral, then all of a sudden everybody goes back and starts listening to the back episodes. Lewis Howes, if you guys know who Lewis Howes is, said he did his podcast. He did his show for 10 years before it became popular. It takes dedication. It takes effort. It takes consistency. It takes that willingness to put yourself out there time and time and time again. I was just talking with a buddy today. We were talking about giving up on different things. And I'm like, no, the self-doubt and the failure, that's the opportunity for me to set the example for my son. So who can you be the example for in your life? How can you set the example for somebody in your life to live that no excuses life, to push yourself to become better and not bitter, to be that better person, right? I sat there and on Sunday and I said, and you can, here's the truth. What does that say at the very top? New, healthier me. That was not planned. That was not scripted. That's what I wrote yesterday. Today's Tuesday, right? A little screwed up because of the holiday. New, healthier me. I put that on there. So now what I've done is I've sat there and started in my brain, okay, what is it I could do a little bit better? I've gotten a little bit lazy on my eating. I've gotten complacent with my workouts. So today I started doing pyramiding. It's where I started doing heavier weights, lighter, low reps. So I started doing heavier rate. I did 8 reps. And then I went a little bit lighter weight and I did 10 reps. And then I went lighter rate and I went until I was exhausted. No, I actually did 4 sets. So instead of doing 3 sets where I just basically did 10 reps each, which was kind of as I sat there and I started building it up again, guess what? Walked out of there feeling pumped. Still got a little pump going on. Started pushing myself. That's how you get over self-doubt and failure, is you just keep pushing yourself and you get excited about how you are growing, how you are changing, and you're going to outgrow people, ladies and gentlemen, and you wish them well, all the best. It sucks. But if you're hanging around people who aren't inspiring you, then you need to have new people. That is super important. Wow, we've already been going for 50 minutes. I got more questions, but I'll do it on another show. But the one thing I want to talk about here for a second, I'm going to put this link in here, is because I know it is expensive to work with me. I'm not blind to that. I have had to spend money on coaches most of my life, and I know it's expensive and I know it's challenging, but here's what I'm going to do. Earlier this year, I created my group accountability coaching program. I'm going to put it in the comments. You guys could check it out. Group accountability coaching. And I do it at a ridiculously affordable rate. You have to have a little bit of skin in the game. There's a regular edition and there's a premium edition for $150 a month. You get 2 Zoom meetings. You get a private Facebook group page. You get an accountability partner that you meet with every week. You get access to my Facebook messaging, where we have a little message group where I post in there. You get, for that one, you get an hour with me every single month. I charge $300 an hour. So for $150, you can get the group accountability coaching program. You can get me as a part of it, or for $49 a month, you can still get everything else aside from me. And that's still an amazing value. You spend $50 a month, right? A little bit of skin in the game. I have people in my group coaching program who've been here since the beginning. I think it started in April. When did I start? It doesn't really matter, but I started it. Let me see if I can figure it out real quick. I think I started it. I keep track. Wow, it might have been a year already. October 30th. Yeah, it's been a year. We've already been doing it for a year. People have launched books, started businesses, ended relationships, done a whole bunch of things, and started to become better in their life. So if this is something for you, I highly encourage you. And because you're watching the show, reach out to me, private message me, and let me know. And I'll give you a free coaching session on the front end. We'll figure out what is challenging you. I'll explain the coaching program a little bit more to you. But there it is. If you guys are listening on the podcast, noexcusescoach.com. And then you can do /group-accountability-coaching. So again, noexcusescoach.com/group-accountability-coaching. You can go to the show notes. I'll make sure I put it in there as well. But there is an opportunity for you guys to step up right now. That's not a sales pitch. That's an offer. That's an offer for you to change what is working in your life. Can you imagine working with me for 12 months in that program? How different your life would be? Knowing that you have an accountability partner every single week that you meet with. So you're holding yourself accountable there. 2 Zoom meetings a month where I give you homework. It was only about accountability first, but it's actually a coaching program. And when I used to do my group coaching program, it was $1,200 a month. So you think about that. I'm giving the farm away. And it's beyond incredible that there's not more people in there. We've had a lot of people in there, and then people have kind of ebbed and flowed. I won't go into that because I know some of the people watch, but you're invited always to come back, except for one person. they're not invited to come back. And that's a long story. So here we go. I've been going for 54 minutes. If you came in the middle of this broadcast, please go back and listen to the beginning of it. It's all about living that no excuses life. And you can decide to do that whenever you're ready. You can decide that you're inspired today and you can start tomorrow, or you can start tonight. Or you can sit there and wait for the perfect timing. You can wait for someday. You can hope, wish, and pray that something changes. It has to change within yourself. It has to start with you. Hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise, vitamin D. Wake up with a mission and a purpose. Wake up and spend 20 minutes doing some physical exercise, 20 minutes of journaling, 20 minutes of reading a personal development book. We all can spend an hour on ourselves and then progressively move forward from that. Take a walk. If you're walking around the block, take 2 blocks. Slowly build yourself, push yourself, raise your standards. Think about your values and your ethics, and think about, again, if you died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? Would you be proud of that? So again, make sure you check out my group accountability coaching program. I promise you, you will not regret that. Got Darlene in the house. What's up, Darlene? She says, hey, Darlene, make sure you go back and check out the beginning of the show. This has been a fire episode. I've given the farm away. I've answered a bunch of questions. So now I am going to go have my dinner and spend some time with my family. I got one phone call to make to a friend of mine to make sure he's doing okay. But here is my offer to you now, today, tomorrow, but don't put it off anymore. All right. We'll be back here again next week. I think I got Bashal Sakar next week. But again, in 2025, I'm going to be doing more solo shows. So if you dug this, please send me a private message, send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. Let me know what subjects you want me to talk about in 2025, because I'm going to be doing more solo shows like this and less interviewing of guests. So let me know what it is that I can provide for you, and I'll be happy to do that, because together we rise and together we can make this world a better place for our kids and our kids' kids. I love you guys. Stay kick-ass unstoppable. And we'll see you next time here on the Raw Unscripted show. Love you guys. Peace.